Ye Wubin's 100 Lessons to Mastering Time Management. Lesson 95. Everyone has their own view of the world. Hello everyone, my name is Ye Wubin from Neng. I'm so happy to be with you now. It's 6 a.m. on the Ximalaya App. For those of you who have been following my lessons, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome aboard. I'm so happy to have you with us. Time is man's scarcest resource. Once it's used, it can never be regained. So if you're not using your time effectively, or if the time you're spending is only getting you further away from your dreams in life, then stay with me. Listen a while, and I'm confident I can help open your eyes to a new path that will get you closer to your dreams. I want to remind you there are 100 classes in this album, and every class lasts about 6 minutes. It is updated at 6 a.m. New York City time each morning. Recently, we've been talking about emotion. Emotion management is a part of energy management. I have said often, time management is based on energy management. The level of energy, positive or negative, will affect our efficiency in work and life. So where do our emotions come from? We talked about a formula and several ideas in the first 2 lessons on this subject. When something beyond our control happens to us, we may feel uncomfortable. This emotion comes from our existing belief system. The belief system is our way of thinking, and it produces an automatic response. In the end, our subconscious will assume in all situations that we are right and they are wrong. So events, resistance, beliefs, automated responses, the idea that I'm right, all of these are important sources of our emotions. The source of emotion that I'm talking about here are not actual events. They make up our perceptions. That is our belief system, and it dictates how we see and react to events in our life. So what is this belief system? Our judgment, our point of view, criticisms, pride, and our measurement of right and wrong all come from our belief system. So our emotion comes from our belief system rather than the event itself. Can you see that? The emotion comes from our beliefs. Then we talked about a very important point, that is, everything is neutral. Good or bad, right or wrong, beauty and ugliness depend entirely on our own interpretation. William Shakespeare once said, "There is nothing good or bad, except thinking makes it so." If you have it handy, I suggest you read the 2nd chapter of the Scripture of Ethics. It says, "The standard for beauty is not beautiful. The standard for kindness is not kind." So existence and disappearance, difficulty and ease, long and short, high and low, music and sound, front and back, they're all complementary. Good or bad, right or wrong, beauty and ugliness are all complementary. Beauty, everyone has a world of their own, which is different from others. There are 7 billion people in the world, so there are 7 billion different worlds. Beauty and ugliness, right and wrong, good and bad, these are our perceptions of the world. If you're able to understand that the event is neutral and the chain reaction is entirely from our own interpretation, from our emotions, then you will realize that your own understanding of an event may contrast sharply from another. I want to share an experience with you from when I visited Venice during my global tour. What do you think of Venice? Venice is a city in Italy. I believe that most people will think of a romantic and beautiful city covered in mostly water as described in an article that you possibly studied in school. In fact, it was because of this perception I had of Venice that I wanted to go to Italy and visit Venice immediately. During my global travel, I had planned to stay in Italy for 6 or 7 days and to stay in Venice for 2 days. In these 2 days, I experienced the beauty of Venice. When I went to the Tower of Venice and looked out upon the entire city, I could not help but be overcome by the city's beautiful landscape and its grand buildings. I was attracted by the balance of the Adriatic Sea over the sky and over the landscape and the quiet night view of Venice. When I went to the Piazza San Marco, I saw 2 cafes. When the concert in one of the cafes was over, the performance in the other cafe would begin, and I wondered if there was a competition between the 2 cafes or if they just wanted to bring us a more beautiful melody. The crowd of listeners switched back and forth between the two cafes listening to the music. Listening to the beautiful music, I could not stop thinking about how beautiful it was. Then I published photos that I had taken in Venice, and I shared my feelings in my WeChat, and a lot of people responded. Many people agreed that Venice was very beautiful, and they clicked the like button. However, there were people who had gone to Venice and said that Venice was noisy and crowded. The sewers made the city smell very bad, especially in the summer. When you were rowing the beautiful gondola in the alley, there would be a burst of pungent odor, so they tried to persuade me not to go on a gondola ride. But my experience was vastly different from theirs. I think Venice was a beautiful city. Of course it wasn't perfect, but if you only take notice of the crowd and leave, you will lose interest. Since Venice was noisy during the day, I got up early in the morning, which was easy for me to do because of the habit I formed at Neng. Every morning I woke up at 5 a.m. I went running with my children and business partners. In the morning, Venice was very quiet. The Piazza San Marco was noisy during the day, but in the early morning there was no one there. We ran about and then enjoyed a wonderful breakfast. Later we visited the bell tower, and there was no wait. We were able to go to the top of the bell tower easily. The sunlight was very beautiful that day. We took a lot of photos. So actually, the events and the facts, they were all neutral. Beautiful and ugly, good and bad. And our experience depends entirely on our own interpretation and our own actions, which is very important. Today I've shared my experience in Venice with you, and I also hope that you can travel to the city in the future. Remember, emotions are derived from our own belief system, rather than the event itself. Good and bad, beauty and ugliness are all reactions that come from our own interpretation of the event. They're not real things. Our response lies in our interpretation. We are able to control 90% of our interpretation, and thus 90% of our reaction. So when it's your turn to respond to a sudden event, will you react positively or negatively? The answer comes entirely from your own interpretation. These audio lessons are translated by Neng's partner Cece and then recorded by her husband Justin. I wish you great success today. See you tomorrow.